Among other things, you oversee FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, as we hit the peak of hurricane season, and we're marking the 20th anniversary of the landfall of Hurricane Katrina this weekend 20 years ago. Is the federal government prepared to respond to a major disaster at this moment?
We are absolutely more prepared than the last administration and doing a much better job responding to the disasters we've already experienced since President Trump has been in the White House. We've had over a dozen, close to 20 different disasters throughout the country just since President Trump has been the President of the United States, and we have deployed resources twice as fast as FEMA ever has in the past, gotten people on the ground over 100% quicker than any other administration has. In fact, with the disasters that we saw that were so horrific and devastating in Texas and New Mexico, North Carolina, we've had people on the ground within hours responding to those families that were in crisis. So FEMA is consistently doing a much better job than it has in the past, and we're going to continue to stay on guard and make sure that we're there to always support these local states and these local emergency management directors in them getting the chance to run their disaster operations.
I bring this up because part of what you're suggesting there is in dispute from a handful of current and former FEMA employees who wrote to Congress this past week raising concerns about the agency's ability to respond to forthcoming natural disasters. One of the specific concerns they have is this decision that now has you reviewing any cost of $100,000 or more that FEMA plans to make. Can you give me an example of a charge of $100,000 or more that you've rejected?
Yeah, absolutely. We paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars to a one-woman firm to deliver to us 30 million meals, and she delivered only 50,000 to us. And it was a one person that the federal government had contracted with in order to deliver 30 million, and I don't know how they ever expected one person to do that. We had a person that was being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to book meetings of less than 10 to 15 people, and with no meetings that we saw that were productive or couldn't be done by sending an email. Over and over again, we're looking at these contracts and looking at the fact that, are they duplicative? Are they just supporting woke ideologies, DEI, or are they actually delivering disaster response, which is what FEMA's job is to put in place operations to support states and local governments to take care of people. And so that evaluation has saved us hundreds of millions of dollars within FEMA and within the Department of Homeland Security. It has saved us $13 billion already, and we're going to continue to make sure that we're accountable to taxpayers. You know, in Washington, D.C., I rarely run into anybody who says, I'm a lobbyist for the American taxpayer. Well, guess what? Kristi Noem is. Every day I get up and I think the American people are paying for this. Should they? And are these dollars doing what the law says they should be doing? I'm going to make sure that they go there and they're spent what's appropriate according to the law, and that the taxpayers understand that it's a worthwhile effort.
At least 20 of the people who signed this letter were current FEMA employees, and they've been placed on administrative leave. And I'd heard you in previous interviews suggest that those that are making accusations against the agency should put their names on the criticisms or the allegations. So now they have, and they've been placed on administrative leave. And I'm curious if it's now the policy of DHS that any time an employee puts their name on something, publicly criticizes you or the president's leadership, that they should anticipate being put on leave or fired.
This letter was signed by many people anonymously. There was some who had their names on there, and those who had their names on there were temporary contract employees who had worked for the Department of Homeland Security for less than a year. Individuals who are not long-term FEMA employees who grab a hold of the mission to be there to go and serve individuals and are deployed across the country and have for years to make sure they're responsive to families in their time of need. So absolutely every employee will be evaluated as to if they're doing their job and if they're doing it appropriately. And my hope is that every single person within the Department of Homeland Security, but also in this government, gets up every day wanting to make America safer, wanting to do their job and to contribute to that in a very productive way.